Hey Mina, obviously some great drumming, so I wanted to give you some feedback that would be maybe a little bit more absorbable over a video and something that you could visualize versus some written text. So you posted a video of double beat fill-in, posted a video of putterdas, and posted a video of singles. So I'm going to start with the double beat idea, since that has the most rebound. So I still feel as if you're a little restricted in the motion. I feel like that's still what you're missing at the moment. If I had to do an impression of your drumming, I think it'd kind of lie in terms of maybe something like this. Where it's not incorrect by any means. But if I were to slowly metamorphosis your drumming into maybe what we're looking for in terms of like sound production, it would maybe go from something like this to let me explain what's happening right there. So what's happening is I'm just getting after the stroke a little bit more in terms of trying to get that basketball to bounce even higher, right? So if I were to go outside and bounce the ball like normally, it'd probably bounce to like my head-ish or whatever. But in terms of initiating the throw into the ground, I'm really trying to get that ball to bounce way above my head, like maybe even above the roof. So if I were to just break down the quote-unquote double beat motion inside of that, it would turn more into this being my first note, and then as I add a second note, more in that range, whereas I feel as if right now you're kind of living more in this range, which again is not textbook incorrect by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel as if to get a more thorough stretch and to really produce the sound that you could unlock within your own playing, I think you need to get after the throwing of the stick a little bit more. And be able to do that in a way where you feel really comfortable and natural throwing that thing. I remember at the last game we talked about just playing eights, like you playing eights alone, and the stick was moving so slow that it almost looked like as if you were stopping the stick. And then once we got that restriction taken away from your playing, and once we got your throw happening, a lot started to come out of that. So that's something to keep in mind. Just how much can you just throw the stick? Literally just throw it and trust the fact that it's going to come back to you. Next point is just about putters real quick. So if I were to break down maybe after the first or maybe after the check, the first pattern. If I were to do an impression of you playing that, it might lie more somewhere in this range. Whereas maybe would be a little bit closer to having more contrast and definitely a lot more sound production. Let me explain what's happening there. So I'm not afraid to get my forearm involved, okay? Obviously, a lot of the motion is still deriving from the wrist turn as I lift with the front of my hand to get the bead to go, right? Or as I'm directing the back of the stick to move so that the front of the stick moves, right? My wrist is doing all of that. However, I am not restricting it to the point where I am limited to this usage only. I am integrating some of that motion as if I'm trying to as if there's like a bee that just crawled on my bead, like a bumblebee that just crawled on my bead, and I'm trying to get it off. It's like, get out of here, you know? Like I wouldn't go like, ew, get out of here, you know what I mean? I would try to like really get that thing to go away, right? So similar to that, like I'm just not restrictive in that at all. So like if I'm playing the low doubles as like an open double check, for an example, boom, boom, big da boom. Right there, like it's pretty open, right? It's not very fast, so I'm primarily using the wrist as the motion, and then when I add these accents, hopefully you notice that I am integrating a little bit more form to that as well. A little more form. right? Just a little bit more form. I'm still getting a lot of contrast, okay? I'm still getting big accents, still getting small taps. However, I'm just getting a lot of contrast. Putted thing leads into the singles thing a little bit, the old school singles exercise being derived from a 2-height exercise as well, right? Right, remember the spirit of that exercise is to maintain a lot of contrast while maintaining a really controlled grip, but a very loose grip. So you don't do what I just did and restrict the sound. But I still feel as if you might be restricting the stroke a little bit. So if I did something along the lines of what you did, even moving around the drums, it might end up being emulated to be something like this. I'm not necessarily playing harder. I'm just playing a little bit bigger. Not bigger in terms of dynamics, in terms of heights, but a little bit bigger in terms of my approach. I'm accessing a little bit more weight from my shoulder all the way to my fingertips as opposed to only limiting the weight that I'm accessing to maybe this group right here, like the wrist to lower forearm-ish. Or if I go the other way. And nothing's changing with my finger pressure. That is all just a strong sense of throw. I'm even lifting with my bead since it's not too fast to the point where I have to molar it, right? I don't have to use my arm to initiate the stroke by any stretch of the imagination. However, I am getting a strong lift, and the stronger I lift, the stronger the return is going to be as well. Versus, okay? Hope these comments were helpful. And if you have any other questions, just reach out.